Hey everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to a video on the history of Gaul, or essentially the history of Gaul in regards to Civilization 6. So Gaul was just added to the game, and what I'm going to do in this video is try and break down its bonuses and add a bit of history to where they're from, so hopefully you will learn something about Gaul. A very fun civ to play as, by the way, but historically quite intriguing as well. So first up, let's take a look at Gaul itself and have a very brief overview of what they were like in real life. So, unlike other civilizations in Civ 6 such as America, England or Germany plus lots of the others, Gaul was never one specific united nation with one specific king. Instead, Gaul was sort of made up of Gallic tribes, a group of tribes that often warred with each other, but were combined and came together in their language, in their culture, and their social structure. So, you know, when you think of America and you think of any country today, really, it's kind of one government with a tier system that ultimately leads to a ruler. Gaul was not like that. It was just a series of tribes that had commonalities and sometimes fought against a common enemy. So history teaches us that the Gauls were a fierce people who frustrated Roman expansion beyond the borders of Italy for many centuries before Julius Caesar conquered their territory, which was located primarily in northern Italy and the lands which we now recognise as modern day France. So Caesar conquered that in the year 51 BC. But in the centuries beyond the Roman occupation, the culture of Gaul combined with that of their new Roman conquerors merged to form the foundations of the country which became known as France and which obviously still exists to this day. So they were very much sort of the pre-runners to France, but obviously there were quite big differences. So looking at abilities specifically, and I'm going to do this for every single ability Gaul has, I'm going to run through them and explain where I think they come from historically. So in Civ 6, Gaul is led by Ambiorix. Now, your civilization gains culture equal to 20% of the unit's cost when a non-civilian unit is trained, and melee, anti-cavalry and ranged units receive +2 combat strength for every adjacent combat unit. That is his bonuses for when you play as Gaul. So as I just mentioned, the Gauls didn't have just one overall leader, and we're not just one single people. So it probably doesn't surprise you that Ambiorix was prince of the Eburones and leader of a Belgic tribe of northeastern Gaul. So he was not the leader of all the Gaelic tribes, he was the leader of one tribe and a very influential figure in what's modern day Belgium. What Ambiorix is most famous for is his resistance to Roman occupation in his region. In 54 BC, Ambiorix, along with fellow Gaelic leaders in the region, rose up against Julius Caesar's Roman occupying force and won a series of brilliant victories which involved Gaul's leader in Civ 6, Ambiorix, deploying some brutal but often inspired tactics. Now, the first thing I would say on this is Ambiorix here clearly was defending his own lands and his own part of Gaul, so this is probably why Gaul's bonuses and lots of Gaul's bonuses in Civilization 6 are defensively focused, because they are well known for trying to fight off the Romans and defend their own territory. So it would be weird if their bonuses in this game were offensive. Instead, I think they're designed to very much hold your opponents back and make Gaul in Civilization 6 very difficult to conquer. The next thing I want to mention is where the +2 combat strength for every adjacent unit comes from. So the traditional view of Gaelic soldiers as a sort of unorganised rabble was often far from the truth. Instead, Ambiorix proved, despite their lack of equipment, which was something they often had to deal with, that Gaul could be a very effective fighting force, especially in ambush situations. So it's here where I think that +2 combat strength from adjacent units likely comes from, because yes, Gaul was not as well equipped as the Roman. The Gaelic troops were not as well armoured and they were certainly not as well organised. However, they used strength in number effectively and they were far from just a rabble, so the +2 combat strength for me comes from there. The final part of Ambiorix's bonus, which we've not yet discussed yet, is the bonus culture, and this is a feature that runs throughout the whole Gaul civilization, and we will definitely revisit this further on in this video. So where does it stem from? Well, the Civilopedia describes Gaelic society as distinct, with golden horseshoe-shaped necklaces such as torques worn by women, and druids playing an interesting and important role in society, plus obviously lots more. But the point here is that Gaul probably, and the Gaelic people probably don't get enough credit for just how interesting their culture was, because obviously everything's overshadowed by the Romans and the Roman culture in this period. So I think this is just trying to highlight that Gaul had a fascinating culture. Like I just said, Druids played a massive part in society, more than they probably did elsewhere. So yeah, I think it comes from just Gaelic society being more interesting than the average person would be aware of. So let's move on now and talk about Gaul's ability, which is Hallstatt culture. And this bonus essentially revolves around mines giving minor adjacency bonuses to districts, as well as giving sort of bonus culture. So we need to split it into two parts. So the first part, for the easiest, is the culture. So we know why Gaul gets culture bonuses. I literally discussed that a second ago. But the second bit, which I found quite interesting to find out, was why are mines so important to Gaul? And I think it comes from the fact that mines, and gold mines in particular, were a big part of the Gaelic economy, and they generated so much money. Like, one of the reasons that Rome invaded Gaul was because it had a significant number of gold mines, which could make Rome very rich, and obviously gold was very, very important. So here again we have the culture playing a big part. I said it runs through the civilization, and that fact that gold mines was significant to Gaul. So next up is the Gaul unique unit, the Gesete. Now, I probably pronounced that wrong, so I'm sorry. I'm crap at pronunciation at the best of times. So this Gaelic unique unit is an ancient era replacement for the warrior, and the unit has increased cost and has bonus combat strength, so it's basically a stronger replacement for the warrior. Now, what actually were these units? Well, as the Roman Empire expanded and started to conquer the lands and tribes of Gaul, they began to hire these units to fight for them. These fierce warriors, their name which literally means armed with javelin lancers, fought for Gaul in the Alps against Rome. So, though Rome ultimately did win the Gaelic Wars, the fact that these soldiers literally fought naked and were seemingly fearless in the face of death makes them worthy of being Gaul's unique unit in Civ 6. So yeah, they were a very, very fierce opponent to Roman expansion. I think they were deployed specifically in the Alps. And I just found it fascinating that they fought naked. Like, imagine being a Roman soldier, you know, you're all kitted up, very well organised, and then you're faced with, I mean, what must have seemed to them like barbarians, just absolutely butt naked, and I don't know, that just weirded a lot of people out, I imagine. Another thing I want to say on this unique unit is that I think they are fitting as a warrior replacement, because historically they were clearly fiercer than the average military unit. So, you know, they're not a very well developed military unit. They probably do come under the category of warrior, but they could not deal with the Roman legions. Like, the Roman legions ultimately defeated them, so they're appropriate as being a warrior replacement because they're sort of an organized rabble sort of thing. They're just very fierce and very scary, but they're not as good as the professional legion or maybe professional swordsman in a Civilization 6 term. So moving on, the final thing I want to talk about is Gaul's unique district, which is the Opium, and that's essentially a replacement for the industrial zone that has a range attack and gives bonus production. So in history, these were quite interesting to read up on. So an Opium was a large Iron Age settlement, often important as an economic hub where goods were produced, stored and traded. So no surprise there that it's a production-based district in the fact that things were built there and traded there. Production was obviously very, very key to that. So they emerged in the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, and they were spread across Europe, and the tribes within it, obviously Gaelic tribes within it, and beyond. I think they were beyond the borders of like France and Belgium. I think like Britain had these, and they were across Europe. Interestingly, where the populations remained independent from Roman conquest, Oppida, which is literally just the plural of oppidum, continued to exist into the 1st century AD. So I think they were very much around, you know, the 2nd, 1st centuries BC and then into the 1st century AD. they were clearly crucial places in tribes and such as Gaelic tribes, because they were where people came together to trade things, and that's pivotal for any civilization. Even now, you know, trading's a massive part of everything we do, so they were clearly important places, and they are fittingly in the game. So regarding the other bits of the bonuses with this district, so for the defensive bonus, the fact that this district can range attack, well, it's interesting to know with this that many of these locations in real life had no defensive functions at all. Though some did grow out of hill forts and therefore had some defensive abilities, not all of them did. So it's not as if these districts, from what I read up on, were actually notorious for being well defended or anything. I think instead maybe this comes from Gaul's overall focus as a defensive civilization, which I've touched on earlier in the video, so maybe that's where that comes from. And it certainly does make Gaul very easily defendable in Civ 6, with those two sort of ranged attack districts you can have in each city. The final thing to mention, you know, you're getting adjacency bonuses from, is it mines and quarries which are adjacent? Again, I think this is just back to the point that mines were very important in Gaelic society because of the gold mines, like I've mentioned a few times now. Okay, so that is it for this video. Hopefully you've learned something about Gaul, and if you have, make sure you hit that like button because that would help me out a lot. And if you want to see some more of our videos, then check out the Byzantine historical look I did a few days ago. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you want to see another one of our videos, then check out the Byzantine historical look down in the box below. Also, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for lots more Civ 6 content. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex, and I will see you in another video soon.